Listen to Desert Radio from wherever you are in the world by streaming live on stream.namibian.com.na. Desert Radio, the bold voice.
Here, this is Desert Radio 95.3 FM. I'm also joined by Margaret, Gustavo, who is the Executive Director for Strategy and Branding at the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board. If you are also just joining us from Windhoek, Dordabis and the surrounding areas, it's a 95.3 FM. That is the channel. Like I said, the program is Talking Business. If you're joining us from anywhere else in the world, desertradio.fm. So generally, the Namibian Investment Promotion and Development Board has opened up a tender even to international entities for the development of a national brand. The development of a national brand is set to promote Namibia as an investment destination, but also to develop an overall brand for Namibia to enable the country to tell its consistent story about the economy. So that's what they are doing to try and promote Namibia as an investment destination. They have also been doing quite a lot. They have been on the move for quite some time in the past few months, going anywhere and everywhere, knocking at the doors for investors to come to Namibia. Like I said, if you're just joining us, we do have the branding brains behind the Namibia Investment Development Promotion Board here in the studio. Margaret, thank you very much for joining us and good day.
Good afternoon. No, it's still good morning. No, thank you so much for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure. Well, let's just talk about this plan of creating a national brand for Namibia to be attractive as an investment destination. Don't we have a brand so far, and our investors are looking at us if we don't have something that we can call a brand that we have to create now?
You know, that's a very good question, except, and this is, I think, where a lot of us are getting it wrong, except we're not looking for a brand to promote investments. It's actually a nation brand. So when it comes to investment promotion and actually positioning Namibia as an investment destination, we're doing that internally as NIPDB, but to promote Namibia. So where this came from was that as part of the
Margaret, I'm going to have to just ask you to hold on for me as we just have to pay bills in the next few seconds. So we'll come back to you and then you can give us an insight on that one in the next few seconds. Do stay tuned with us here on 95.3 FM, desertradio.fm from anywhere else in the world.
Vindoklaga, please. Yo, see that guy over there? It's Matthew. He's the gent who gave me my first job, mentored me, you know. And when it came time for me to try my own thing, he was the first to invest. What a legend.
We all leave a mark on someone. Now's the perfect time to leave yours. Vindoklaga. Perfect time, perfect beer. Not for persons under the age of 18. Enjoy responsibly.
Hey, do you want to hear something useful?
You have to have a lot of passion to work on something you think is going to make
Here's your day's business tip on Talking Business, your gateway to the business world.
Or if you are just joining us again, we are still talking to the Executive Director, Strategy and Branding at the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board. That's Margaret, Gustavo. We're just talking about the importance of creating a brand.
Okay.
Give it to us, Margaret.
Yeah, Thierry. So let me explain maybe where we started off. I think in 2021, if you look at the high-level panel before that, when the high-level panel was appointed, one of the key things that came out of that is that we must develop a brand. We must position Namibia as a great place to live in, a place to invest in, a place to visit, and a place to develop. And also, as part of the nationhood strategy and the nationhood campaign, I think if you remember, the Minister of ICT basically said that as part of the nationhood campaign, we need to develop a brand council and we need to brand the country. So it's not related to investment. It's not related to promoting Namibia as an investment destination per se. So what nation brands are, it's really countries figuring out what are the perceptions that countries have or people around the world have about your country. And then based on our plans, and I think you know that we've got Vision 2030, we want to take Namibia to a specific place. And right now where we are, Namibia is poised for, we've had so many people coming to our country. I think you've seen that. I mean, just investors coming to look with the oil and gas finds, etc. We've seen many people coming to our country, but it's finding that unifying thing that we need to say. How do we position Namibia? And at that point, when we came into office, we realized that this is one of our KPIs. It's to brand Namibia, not only as an investment destination, but to brand Namibia. And then we thought, but how can we partner with others? Because we're not the ones responsible. We're not the custodians of the brand. We're responsible. We're the custodians of the investment positioning. And so we went to see the Minister of ICT, and we spoke to Honorable Mushelenga, and we said, okay, fine, what is it that we need to do? We need to get key players in the room. We've got the Investment Promotion Board that is promoting Namibia as an investment destination. You've got the Namibia Tourism Board that's promoting Namibia as a tourist destination. And you've got a lot of organizations. Then you've got the Ministry of ICT that's promoting internally. It's to build this nationhood campaign. So how do we bring all these players together and develop the overarching umbrella brand that all of us can plug into? So it's one message. It's about, let's take, for example, you've got, I don't want to give publicity to one brand over another. Maybe let's look at Google. Google has got Google. So it started off as, just find something. It's like online encyclopedia. You get all your information there. Now they've got Google Workspace. You've got all of these sub-brands that fall under there. But it's one thing. It's around building, connecting people, making sure that I can find my information. Google Workspace now creates an opportunity for you to actually work using that workspace. So it's still the same brand, but it's just, how do I speak to my target audiences, the different target audiences? But you say one thing and you sometimes tweak a message to actually get that same message about who is Namibia. Let me give you an example. We went to Ghana earlier on this year. We went there to promote investment as well as trade promotion. So the Minister of Trade was there and we were there as well. And I was watching, because I didn't go, so I was watching online one of the events that we had there, our Invest in Namibia event. And on one end, we had the message around, when we went to the World Economic Forum, the message around there was powered by nature. And why was that? Because we were promoting green hydrogen. And everything about Namibia at the time was powered by nature. We're powered by everything that we're doing around green hydrogen is just because nature has given us the ability to do that. And then, so on one end of the Ghana, there's the message there that says powered by nature. On the other end, we had the messaging around tourism, which is, I think it's wide open spaces or endless horizons. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, we're saying two different things. We need to communicate one thing about the country. So branding is about finding a differentiator for your country or for your product and creating credibility and in a relevant space. So it's credibility, differentiation, and relevance. Nation branding is really just around managing the perceptions that you want people to know about you. So the positioning, the nation brand that we are doing now is the umbrella, the bigger picture of how we want to position Namibia. And as an investment board, we will have to position Namibia then in that same way. We cannot then go and say something different about Namibia. So say, for instance, our positioning becomes, so positioning is really, it's a marketing term that we use, and it doesn't have to be, developing nation brands doesn't have to be a marketing principle. So I did my master's in nation branding. I actually wrote my thesis on how to position countries. And we looked at the principles around positioning service brands and the principles around positioning product brands. And you need to find, and the outcome of my dissertation was really that you have to use both. And it's also a thing around MIRCO. Let's take the Ministry of International Relations. It's also around international relations. Who do you partner with? What are you known for? People develop all of these perceptions based on my experience of you, the products that I've consumed of your country. It also depends on maybe films that we've seen that come from the country. It also depends on my experience. I come to Namibia, and maybe at World Economic Forum, we said to you, Thierry, come to Namibia. We will brush your shoes at the airport. I mean, that's like a petty example. And you come to Namibia at the airport and nobody has brushed your shoes. So it's that credibility is based on what is it that I'm saying and is that aligning with the experience that I have. And so that's how we want to position Namibia. What is America known for? America is known for, if I have a dream and I have this outlandish big dream, America is the country that will help me develop that. If we look at South Africa, was known as the same for Africa, isn't it? And so we're almost standing at the banks of the Jordan River, and we can cross through now to promised land, and I'm putting it in inverted commas here, promised land. And it's really about taking Namibia to that next level, but it's managing the perceptions and the narrative around Namibia, that we can all position Namibia in the same way and not having tourism saying X, investment is saying Y, everybody else, international relations is saying PQR. So we want to have that same one messaging and that one positioning, that one perception that we want to create around Namibia. Another thing that you'll find in nation branding is that what we do around the world, which touches on international relations, what we do around the world comes to that place where everybody says, okay, but this minister said X about Namibia, but our agreement that we have with Namibia is Y. They've got a schizophrenic brand. So brands are not around, it's not around the logo. It's really around the perceptions that people have of you. And you need to define that narrative as a country and as a product and as a service. You need to define that narrative and in that scope, change people's perceptions in order for them, one, to do business with you consistently, two, to have investors come into the country, to have tourists come into our country. We're not neglecting the fact that there are a lot of things that we have to do internally that creates that credibility. But we need to be able to say, what's our strategy? And based on our strategy, what do we want to achieve in the next 10 years or whatever we want to see? And then you work backwards and you're saying, what is it that we need to put in place to be able to achieve that? So I don't know if that gives a bit of perspective. So it's not an NIPDB thing. It's actually a collective of government ministries. And then we've asked some private sector companies to join us, like Namibian-based companies predominantly, and those who are already exporting outside of the country, that will give us a bit of perspective because they're already doing it and they would be able to give us some of the perceptions that they've already experienced. So we've got breweries on board, we've got Bank Windhoek on board, and we've got Namib Mills on board. I don't know if we know that Namib Mills actually exports its maize meal to Australia. They've got a lot of South Africans who live there. And you could have had South African maize meal in Australia, but Namib Mills saw the opportunity and they're exporting maize meal there. So we thought, how can we work with these companies that are already promoting the country outside of the country with their products and their services, and then leverage that, get their insights that they have as part of this working committee. This working committee consists of the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology. It consists of, and it's chaired by the Deputy Minister, Honorable Emma Theophilus, and I'm deputizing her. And then we've got the Namibia Investment Promotion Board, you've got the Tourism Board, you've got Ministry of Trade. So that's what nation brands are made of. You consist of. How do we want to trade? What are the products? How are nation brands created, Thierry? They created through the experiences that we have out of there, whether it's an investor that comes here, whether it's the products that we sell out there. So even our exports that we get out there, what is it that people experience? So there's a lot of touch points, if I can call it that, many places where people actually experience the Namibia brand. And we want to be able to sort of structure it in a way that we can leverage it better. If you look at top brands, why is the US dollar strong? I mean, there's a lot of geopolitical stuff happening now around that, but why is the US dollar so strong? Why is the USA regarded so highly? The top three nation brands at the moment, at least the top two that I can remember off the top of my head, is the US is number one and China number two. I can't remember what number three is. But there's studies done annually where you want to be able to be at least number one, or at least in the top 10 African countries that people see. But those are done the same way as you run a business. It's done intentionally with clear strategies that you put in place, you need to employ in order to get yourself to that level. So it's around trade, our exports that we have. It's around investments, who's coming into the country and the experience of our country. In terms of customer service, you and I both know we've got a long way to go there as a country. We need to improve our customer service. And then it's really around tourists.
If I may just come in, well, I think you've given an overview of exactly how this is going to be done internally and outside, right? Generally, obviously, you guys are more responsible for, well, on the outside road, you want to make sure that investors look at Namibia in better light. And then they want to die to come to invest in Namibia. What is the difference between this initiative and what NIPDB has been doing? You've been on road shows quite several times in the past few months. You've been anywhere else in the world, literally, to try and sell Namibia. So if we did not have something that is unified, something that identifies all of us to sell out there for investors to come, what exactly were we selling outside?
No, I mean, in terms of just finding that unified voice. At the moment, we are looking at competitive advantages of our country in terms of investment. What does an investor want? and how are we meeting those investment needs. So that's what we've been selling all along. So what we want now is, what is that collective umbrella message that we want to, how do we want to position Namibia? Whether it's, is it sport? What is it that we want to do in order for us to then all sort of plug in? From an investment point of view, we've really been looking at what does an investor want? Are we meeting that? Where are we missing the gaps? For instance, Namibia is, if you look at it just from an investor point of view, an investor wants a market. We've got 2.5 million people, so we're not the best market per se, but we're a gateway to the markets around us. So that's how we've been positioning the country. So it's not that we haven't been like we've just been doing, wasting our time, etc. I think it's just really, and we now want to find that unified thing so that we can leverage it better and really help position the Namibia in one way, in one voice. What's that one thing that sets Namibia apart from other countries? Remember what I said: differentiation, credibility, and relevance. And for us, it's really that differentiator. What sets us apart so that we can promote that equally across the board.
Well, interesting indeed. If you are just joining us, we are here on our Talking Business. I'm in conversation with Margaret, Gustavo, the Executive Director of Strategy and Branding at the Namibia Investment and Promotion and Development Board. If you're just joining us, of course, you did miss quite a lot because we are now sort of winding down, going towards the end of what we were talking about. Just before we wind up, Margaret, just maybe in short, just give it to us. Why is it so important to have that one thing that identifies Namibia? And how would that make Namibia competitive on the international market?
Okay, why is it important? Let's take, for example, why is it important that breweries need to position themselves as a not breweries, let's take Windhoek Lager. Why is it important for Windhoek Lager to position itself as a brand amongst its peers? So if you look at the product itself, the ingredients within that product is barley, hops, and water. I don't know. I can't remember. What makes a beer? Barley, hops, and water, I think. And Thierry?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Barley, hops, and water. I would know that.
Would you know? I don't know. I don't drink beer. So I think it is barley, hops, and water. But how many beers out there in the world are made of barley, hops, and water? Many. Let me give you another example. Sugar. Sugar is sugar. What is the essence of sugar? It's to make whatever you're making sweet, isn't it? Okay. So what we're saying is, how do we differentiate ourselves? It's important because in the bigger scheme of SADC, of Africa, of the world, we need to differentiate ourselves as a country. Many times, people, if you look at tourism, for instance, just off the bat, tourists, how many people go to the whole of Africa where they can find the big five? How many African countries offer that? I'm sure a few. Okay, so how do we differentiate ourselves? What, do we find different big five here? No, there must be something else that we can offer, tourists to come to our country, and how do we market that? If you look at investments, for instance, are there different incentives that we are offering? Probably not, because investors want something specific. They want to be able to know that my investment is safe in the country. The country is safe. I probably would not invest in a war-torn country because I don't know whether I'll get my money out of there, yes or no. So it is important for us to differentiate ourselves. And it also gives us as Namibians an ability to say, you know what, how do we promote our country together as a collective and not as one or two or just investment or just tourists? People are coming to our country, but as Namibians, how do we back up what we are doing as a nation in order to promote the country? So it's very important for us to find that one thing, because it will help us differentiate ourselves and it will help us attract the right people that we want. Because as part of branding, you also look at the target audience. Who are the people that I'm bringing who are the people that I'm speaking to? Who am I trying to communicate Namibia to? Who are those target audiences? What do they want? It just puts us in a different bracket. And at the moment, if you look at tourism, if 5 African countries or 20 African countries out of the 54 have the big 5, why must I come to Namibia? Why Namibia? Why can't I go to Tanzania? You know what I mean? Why can't I go to South Africa? All the guys who have the big 5. So it's really around positioning ourselves in such a way that and it's not just about communication. It's really not that. It's not just about going out there with this one message. It's really around how do we make ourselves competitive internally to communicate that effectively.
Oh, splendid. It's been quite a pleasure speaking to you, Margaret. Very enthusiastic indeed. If you're just joining us on 95.3 FM, that was Margaret Gustavo giving us the importance of branding Namibia and making sure that we do have the one thing that sells the country outside there to lure investments. When you do come back, I'll be giving you our business tip of the day. To stay tuned here on a Desert Radio 95.3 FM.
Listen to Desert Radio from wherever you are in the world by streaming live on stream.namibian.com.na. Desert Radio, the bold voice.